it's me that's talking about it.
Brilliant.
Welcome to
My Guy Reviews, the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to My Guy Reviews, the podcast. How I am joined by my co-host, My Guy Monkey. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
Yes, very good, very good.
Stumbling at the first hurdle.
I know, can you believe it? Like, this must be the first one. For our listeners, they know how bad our intros are. We always...
Of course.
That's the authentic case. That's what makes it so real.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
So before we
Not
start,
that fake authenticity.
exactly, who wants it all written down and so sleek and kind of just make up that they do this all the time? This is like our first podcast, obviously.
Hobby.
Yeah,
We're going to get better. Give us another 3 years. We'll get there.
One day you'll join this podcast and it'll be flawless, the intro, and because it's flawless, you'll switch over. You'll just be like, nah, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I want something authentic.
Yeah, I want some of that terrible intros where they stumble and they don't know what they're talking about.
There you go.
So yeah,
Doing
so
something right.
we're back with another episode. This week we watched most probably the biggest movie of last year, or one of the most anticipated movies of last year. How would you hype this movie up? What would be your one thing that you'd say before you say the name of the movie?
What, Soul? No, it's not Soul. I haven't watched Soul yet. Okay, so without saying the name of the movie, what do I have to do?
So just is it the biggest, most anticipated movie of the year? Would you say it's one of one of the most movies that you were excited about at the start of the year? How would you describe it?
I would give it that it's the one movie that had an absolute release date that was chosen eventually anyway. It was definitely coming out on one particular day. Some people in the UK actually got to see it on that day because some cinemas were open. My cinema was closed for a long time, so I didn't get to see it. Then we had the anticipation of it coming to VOD.
Yes.
And
but
America got it.
Only for like a weekend or something. It was only available for a short period as well. And we don't have HBO Max.
No, because we're not American. So without VPNs and American credit cards, there was no way for us to see this movie. It's pretty obvious what we're talking about, though, right by now. And then eventually it came to the UK to video on demand, and it's still a pain for us to get hold of. Just give me a cinema release so I can go and watch it. But yeah, the anticipation. I mean, we go back to, the cinematic universe that this film is set in hasn't been the best. But the one movie I think you could say is decent was the prequel to this one. This being the sequel. So yeah, this one was anticipated to actually be good. And then I was still hearing it being trash talked already. Oh, it's rubbish. But we'll get on to that, I guess.
Yes.
How do you feel about this?
How do I feel? Well, it's Wonder Woman 1984 that we're talking about. Okay. Should we talk about Wonder Woman first, or should we get straight into the sequel?
It's up to you. I mean, we can give our brief ideas on.
Yeah. So
Wonder Woman was good.
The only thing that you need to have taken away from Wonder Woman 1 is obviously Themyscira, where she grew up, because that's referred to in the new one. And then Steve Rogers, her first love in that movie, because he comes back in this one. And by the end of the movie, or during that movie, towards the end, he talks about, spoiler alert for that movie, where he goes something like, "I'll save today and you save tomorrow." So I can't remember the exact saying, but you save the world tomorrow, something like that. That comes back later on. So that's a cool callback. Other than that, there's not a lot of things that you need to know going into this one. I think it's pretty much self-contained. Like obviously there's a bit of lore that they explain her origin a little bit more in the first one, because she's Zeus's daughter, which they don't do in this. But other than that, there's not a lot much more you need to bring from the first movie into the second. They are pretty much standalone movies. You've boxed one at world in the World War times, and this one is 1984. So they are pretty much standalone kind of, and they don't really need to fit into the Batman v Superman world and universe yet, because they're pre-Batman v Superman, pre-Justice League, and pre all the other bits that they got. So yeah, so pretty much self-contained. I think should we talk about it regardless and just say spoilers from now on? Because I don't think you could talk about the movie without spoiling something. Should we just get into it?
Let's spoil it. Let's spoil the bastard. Spoil.
So it starts off with like this incredible but weird set piece at the start of the movie. Did you think that?
I mean, in spoilers straight away. There's all these great heroes in back in on her island, wherever it is. I forget the names.
Themyscira.
I don't do names. And there's all these great warrior heroes doing like an athletics contest.
Yes.
It starts off being a bit like Quidditch or something, and then it goes on to other stuff, and then it becomes like one of those
Olympics
greatest warrior move.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Sort of and then it becomes a triathlon.
It's swimming, horse riding, yes,
and then
archery,
horse riding. Yeah, I mean, a salute to the elite who love the horse riding, all that stuff. But yeah, it's got all these great warriors doing this little contest. Obviously, they're great contest in their terms. And this little girl, for no apparent reason, also taking part in the contest, and is somehow already like stronger than everyone. And that is Wonder Woman.
Yes,
that's how I set it up.
And I feel like she had a slight advantage in some of the stuff because she's smaller. She's able to kind of like duck her head, and being a little kid, she was able to kind of squeeze through certain areas easier than a tall, grown adult warrior. So she had an upper hand, even though people would say no.
Yeah, I thought about that too, but I also thought about the fact that your stamina probably gets better when you've been training and you're an adult. Yeah. So she would have been at a disadvantage. Like by halfway through, I think she would have struggled to keep going. She might have run out of like the steam she needed to push forward. Like after all that swimming and then straight onto a horse, I think she would have started to lag then as a kid.
Yeah. But so the whole point of that is to show us Themyscira again, show us the warriors, and show us kind of like how she would have been brought up, and to just show us a bit where she fell off the horse, and she instead of kind of like being able to remount the horse because the horse just ran off, she decided to kind of improvise. I didn't see that as a problem. She just thought of a different way of getting through, and because the horse had gone, so she just literally took a different route.
I mean, she stupidly looked backwards, like and
constantly. Bless her.
Like, why did she get? You failed yourself by looking backwards and getting hit by a leaf. Like no one does that. You're on a horse. Look where you're going. But yeah, I love that bit where she like improvises. I thought that was going to be a good thing, even though I'd seen in trailers that wasn't going to be a good thing. But I could see her improvising and she goes down this slide thing to try and catch up with the horse. Yeah. But then you've got two things. One, she's like told, "No, you cheated." Like that's kind of the
yes, it was
that we got. No, you cheated. You're not allowed to, and she cries about it. But at the same time, you don't really need to tell her that. It's simple enough. She missed one of the checkpoints. Like it's not a matter of cheated. She missed the checkpoint. And if the rules say you can't miss a checkpoint, then she's lost anyway.
Exactly. You could have just said that to her, but I think it's just to kind of like say you have to do the whole race. But in those circumstances, I felt like as a child, she had the foresight to try do something else to still carry on. Like I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to like this is. We'll talk about the similarity of this movie, but it's kind of like this is our superhero or this person who we believe in, and against anything they'll just keep plodding on. They'll just go through and they'll do anything to get to the end.
She's got a lot of positive traits, and I did love the sequence. And just because she took a shortcut, that's not always a bad thing.
Sometimes if you're in a car and the car runs out of petrol, you don't stop the race. You don't stop chasing the bad. You get out the car and you find another way. Look at Will Smith and Martin Lawrence in Bad Boys. They always run with their shirts off. I mean, they wouldn't do that if they had a car. Sometimes you don't have a car. You have to do something.
Yeah, in order to get them in their shirt, out of the shirt.
Exactly.
I see your point.
We should have put Will Smith on the sexiest man list last week.
We'll put him in this list.
So the start was quite good, though. To be fair, right? It was good. Kind of like there was a bit wonky CGI here and there, but that's fine. It was a good kind of like contest of Olympians, kind of like in their time, and then it kind of shoots to 1984, where the rest of the movie is set. And it's all kind of like it's colourful, it's bright. It looks like 1984, feels like 1980. It feels like 80s again. Like a lot of films, a lot of programs are kind of like doing the nostalgia towards the 80s again, and this is what it felt like. It felt like
it's typical 1980s as well. Some of it,
some of the over the top,
like some of the stuff. Some of the stuff I just think actually that's more 2000s. The sort of nature of business and stuff, but yeah. 80s is a good place to put it all.
Yeah, because there are no things like mobile phones. So when she was in the fest, in the shopping mall, there's no mobile phone, so no one's taking pictures and recording her. And she does the thing with the thing she's wearing on her head, and she just chucks it, and it smashes all the cameras. So they've kind of got around that bit. Like, how can she have existed in a time and not be filmed, and not be on the news, and not be in newspapers? Because when Batman v Superman happens later on, how is the world not aware of her by now?
Right, is that why they do that?
I think that's why you set it in the 1980s. Yeah, you show that she was around, she was doing stuff, but there's still something in between. Because I think in the movie Batman v Superman, they said, why? I think Batman says something too, because why weren't you around helping or something? And I think she said, I gave up on humanity years ago, so something like that. So she's been there, but she hasn't been there. It's weird.
Yeah.
But in the 84,
in
84, there's no way of kind of like, other than being on the front page of a newspaper. Was there any other way of advertising that? There's a superhero that floats, but someone has to film you. They needed big cameras, didn't they? Massive VHS.
Big cameras, yeah. They could have been filming in a mall. It's possible. The thing that annoys me though, is that you'll see that in that scene and in some later scenes, she does this creepy shh thing to the kids, right?
Yes.
But there's loads of adults watching. They can see her. Why is she doing that to the kids? That's just creepy. If no one else can see that except the kids, then fine. But it's just weird. It makes me think that she's an entirely different hero from the 80s. That's not a good one.
It's a different time. It's the 1980s. It was before pre-COVID, right? It's pre-COVID. It was a different time. People were not as suspicious as you are. True. Nowadays, if someone did that to a child, you'd be like, "Whoa, that person's got COVID." Now, times have changed. But back then, we would have been like, "Yep, she could do that. She seems like a superhero."
Yeah.
So Diana's they're doing this thing, but she's kind of like doing whatever she's doing. She's doing them all kind of on a low key and kind of secretly doing these things and helping people around. There's bits where I think there's a car coming. She kicks the car. So she's always zooming in and out. It seems like she's got super speed, and she just kind of gets in there, does the deed, and jumps straight back out. And then she goes to work as well in the meantime.
Yeah, I like all that stuff. Like it's very much Superman style. Like she's doing little things around to save people.
Yes.
And I love that sort of thing. Yeah.
I thought you would bring that up, the similarity between this and Superman 2, I think. Where he's doing all this stuff.
Yeah,
it felt
we'll get to that story later, but yeah.
Yeah. So it felt like that, but she's wearing the red and blue kind of, but really bright colors. She's helping the world. She's kind of doing whatever little things she can do to help. But
she's lonely.
She sure is, yes. We'll come on to all of that at some point. So she stops these robbers who, I was watching that scene and I was like, okay, so they ran out with the stuff. They swapped, which was great. And then one of them, he went from running to just going, he flipped to the point where he was going to shoot a child. He went really kind of like, he went from 0 to 100 so quickly, didn't he?
And the guy drops his gun as well. Like, you didn't even need a gun. You were just the guy that was being handed off to.
Yeah, you went inside.
Don't have a gun. Keep your innocence. You're supposed to be the innocent guy that just walks out.
Anyway, then she comes. She beats them all up. It's great. Lassos them. She uses the lasso a lot, which is the first time we really get to see. Because in the later films like Justice League and Batman v Superman, she doesn't use the lasso as much, and not even in the first movie. Because in the first movie, they kept saying there's the sword, which is the God Slayer, and so she did that whole thing to get the sword, but realized she didn't need the sword. She can just fight a lightning man by herself. But in this one, she used the lasso for everything. She swings around. She's like lassoing them up. I felt a bit like, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
The start of that, where Spider-Man's having some jokes with the bank robbers and swinging around. Yeah, it was good.
That's probably why DC invented Wonder Woman with a whip, just to rip off Spider-Man.
I don't think that was the case, but sure.
Maybe.
And then once she stops all of that, she meets the typical supervillain, right? Did you think when you saw Kirsten Wiggs with her glasses drop some files on the floor, did you think, supervillain? We've seen it so many times.
No, I mean it is a typical twist, but she never really went full on supervillain in her mind, I don't think. But yeah, all I saw was, wow, this is a really stereotypical character. This is like this. I feel like the film is dating now to the 80s as well as the theme, the actual location. Like, are you really going to have the nerdy woman who's uncomfortable with herself character? I mean, I know people, it's a real character, but it feels kind of cliche at this point.
It feels like it's always the case of it could be it was Jamie Foxx in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 where he's Electro and he's like, oh, no one notices me, and he's got the Spider-Man. It doesn't matter who it is, male or female. It's just something that's used a lot. I was going to go through a list of
2016, the nerd.
Yeah, exactly. Chris Hemsworth. Nobody sees him like we see him. So yeah, I'll go through a list of people who I think she's very similar to, and I thought straight away Jamie Foxx from Amazing Spider-Man not that long ago, which is disappointing because she's actually really good. She could have they could have maybe made her something else and then just become Cheetah in the end. But yeah, we'll come into that when we get there. So they're going through some stuff and they get this dream stone. Is it dream stone or wish stone?
Yeah,
and it's got
whatever it is.
And Diana obviously can read it because she reads Latin. And the guy who walks in and makes the first wish, he's really famous in the UK. He's in some great comedy shows. He's in something it's People Who Do Nothing, something like those. I'll have to find it out again. People Who Just Do Nothing, I think it is. He's really funny, and he just literally asks for just a cup of coffee.
Yes. And that's how we know that it grants wishes, because he got coffee.
He got coffee straight away. And it's People Just Do Nothing. And the thing is, so he asks for the cup of coffee, and he gets the cup of coffee, and he says, hot. So later on, we find out that when you make a wish, there is a thing that you have to sacrifice for that wish. And so he must have sacrificed comfort, just maybe a little burning for a cup of coffee.
Maybe. I did not think about that.
Because as spoilers for the movie, but that's it, yeah. But there are things that people are going to give up for their thing. So obviously Diana wishes for Steve Trevor. So in the trailers, Chris Pine is all over the trailers, and we're wondering how he came back to life because he died in the first one. But it's because she wished him back to life.
But she doesn't even say it out loud, which becomes a part of the lore later on. You have to say it out loud. She just kind of says, "Yeah, I know what I wish for." She doesn't say anything. Am I right about that? Or did you
no, she she doesn't say it out loud, but the wind blows her hair when she makes the wish, which is the telltale sign that you made a wish.
We know it's happening, yeah. And we see the watch start to tick forward again, so this timeline has continued forward.
Exactly. And then Kirsten Wiig's character, she wishes to be like Diana at that point, like pretty much all of her, to be seen, as she calls it, because every supervillain who's had that problem just wants to be seen.
Wants to be seen. Standing in a window, I don't know. You want to be seen. Where are you hiding? And so, straight away you can see she's going to become a superhero.
Yeah, because that's what
she could have been a sidekick, and she becomes a kind of a sidekick for a moment. But obviously, DC has already written all of these stories and these characters, so we can't have her as a sidekick to Wonder Woman, because in the comics she doesn't have a sidekick. So as far as I know,
you can always put one in, couldn't you? Because in Captain America, Falcon plays a big part, doesn't he? In the movies, that is, and he's almost become his sidekick in the movies, and so did Bucky towards the end.
Marvel know what they're doing.
Marvel will put anyone in anywhere, and they make it work. And I think here's a good example where you're right. Maybe if she was her sidekick, that would have worked.
But she was still very good. I thought she was really good in this movie.
Because obviously we love her from Ghostbusters and Bridesmaids, so we're big fans.
She stepped it up.
She did.
After all the controversy with Ghostbusters, it's nice to see her doing something that hopefully she won't get too much flack for.
She turns into Cat at the end, though.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that on... and then, it's in the trailers. I saw Cats the musical. It is literally just... so in Cats the musical, there's no words. As in, they don't talk any of their lines. They're just singing constantly. So if you like that kind of stuff, it's all right. But it's called Cats, and I expected them to be cats, and they're CGI cats. I didn't see the problem with that. Good or bad CGI, they were cats. Some of it looks quite good. Some of it looks bad. It's fine. It's fine.
I thought it's disturbing, and I do want to watch it. And if you told me you'd watched it, we could have done a joint review of Cats versus Wonder Woman. Cats did better.
Shout out to Now TV. Whenever you want to watch it, Cats is on there. So we could do half an episode on that, and then I'll finish watching Sonic, and we can come back to Sonic as well.
Yeah, that'd be a good combo actually.
Yeah,
we'll remember that one.
Two CGI characters. Okay, so we'll stop talking Cats. So she turns into Cat at the end. But you're right. I think if she had somehow become her sidekick, which is what Chris Pine becomes, basically, doesn't he? He becomes a sidekick because she wishes for him, and then he comes to life, but not as the way you think. He took over someone else's body, like a fun buddy swap movie. He just takes over someone's body, and he's Chris Pining about. And Chris Pine's great in this movie.
I thought it was Quantum Leap style.
Oh yes,
you remember the old?
Of course, absolutely, yes.
Because he did some time traveling from the past to now, and then he's looking in the mirror, going, "What's the line from Quantum Leap? Oh boy!" That's what you should have said.
Oh yes, you're so right. I think maybe when they were putting this together, they had Quantum Leap in the background. Patty Jenkins and Jeff Jones are just writing away, and they're like, "Oh, this show's great, isn't it?" And it was based in the 80s, early 90s. If anyone who knows, Quantum Leap was a TV show where the guy would resolve an issue or a problem in that one episode, and by the end of it, he would then leap onto the next person. And every episode, he would leap into someone else's body, and you wouldn't know who it is or what they had to do. But when he looked in the mirror, that's when he knew.
Yes, he knew. You could see his own face in the mirror, the correct face, whose body he was in. So the whole of the rest of the episode, we would just see him as him, and that's the same way it works here. So we get to see the original actor the whole time.
Yeah, so
But when you look in the mirror at someone else.
a fun little Easter egg in the movie, the guy whose body Chris Pine takes over is Gal Gadot's husband. So yeah, it's a fun little thing.
Okay.
So spoiler, let's jump to the end. There's a bit at the end where he's wearing a scarf and they smile awkwardly at each other, which you can tell he's not a trained actor, but he looked at her and she gives him this weird awkward smile because that's her husband, and the two kids that are playing are her daughters, their family basically. So yeah,
Wow.
it's a cool little moment.
I don't think it was that awkward.
Well, it's just the way they looked at each other. I think it's
They're there to meet people, They want to meet someone.
I think if you film them day to day, it's fine. But when you put them in a movie and there must be a set full of like 30, 40 people, put camera on his face and say act, he'll be like, oh, this is weird. Like, I didn't realize my wife does this every day for a living. It's not me.
Fair enough.
So Chris Pine comes back to life based on a wish. And then Kristen Wiig made a wish.
Yeah.
But at this point, you don't realize you have to give up something. I think that's not...
No, we don't know that yet.
So we don't know that anything... to have Steve Rogers back, that she has to give up anything. But afterwards, once I found that out, do you remember an episode, a Treehouse of Horrors episode of Simpsons, where they have this monkey paw?
Yeah, I don't remember it, but yeah, the monkey paw gets mentioned.
Yes.
In the movie.
So there's a monkey paw where, and they did it in Rick and Morty as well. Every time you make a wish, you have to give something up. And this in the Rick and Morty episode, it's the devil. Do you remember? Like he gives you a cursed item, and then Rick's just uncursing them. And in The Simpsons, they have the same thing. So I think Lisa wishes for world peace. Maggie wished for like a gold pacifier, and then Homer wishes for a sandwich, but it has no mayo. So every time you made a wish, that's it. Yeah. And so every time you wish something, you have to give up something, and that was their Treehouse of Horror. So I didn't clock onto that until towards the middle of the film when they were talking about what she had to give up for Steve Rogers. So initially, I just thought, Steve Rogers is back, great.
That's not what she was giving up. She was giving up her powers. You not realise that?
Not yet.
I think you may have mixed up.
I didn't realise she'd given up her powers until the car chase.
That was in order to get her wish of Steve Rogers, right?
Yeah. So initially, I'm just thinking, oh, great, she's got Steve Rogers. You're allowed one wish on this wishing thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Everyone's one.
And I didn't realise that Max Lord, when he takes up the stone, and he becomes the wishing man, the wishmaster, like in Wes Craven's horror movie Wishmaster, he could grant wishes, but he was taking stuff away. Initially, I didn't clock that he was taking stuff from people. So he would grant them the wish, but then he would be getting his own stuff from them.
When he first started doing it, it was a bit confusing because he was just like, you just go up to people, give them the wish, and then just take what you want. Where's that come into it? It wasn't until later on that it was explained.
Yes. So that's when I clocked onto that was when they were in the Middle East somewhere, and he's doing the oil business stuff, and then when she's got that big car chase sequence, which was pretty good, but not as good as the World War, the trench, the No Man's Land stuff. That's incredible. So this.
Really that necessary. Didn't have much point to it, but that was a car chase. Yeah.
That's a car chase. And she's flipping trucks and she's sprinting around and she's doing all that stuff. Again, maybe a bit of wonky CGI, but it doesn't matter. It was still good. And then that point where she got hurt, that I realized that so she had to, and Steve Rogers says that to her. So for that period of time, she got her wish of Steve Rogers, but she had lost something, and I guess Kirsten Wiig had the same problem. She had lost something to become like her. And then there's this incredible the White House fight, which was really good, but it's very short. I think
she had quite a lot of powers in that fight.
She does. I think it's maybe it's her immortality or something, because she'd get hurt and she was staying down, wasn't she? So she was bleeding, and so maybe she had Maybe it was slowly zapping her powers. I don't know.
It looked like it was slowly leaving her. Yeah, that's the impression I got. But it wasn't very hard coded into the movie, that bit.
No. So Maxwell Lord, he becomes the Wishmaster, and he goes around granting wishes. And it was and it was at that point that I realized that this movie's gone from being a superhero movie to a really bad rip-off of Wes Craven's Wishmaster, where he grants a wish to people and he takes away something. And I was like, I just saw this quite recently, Wishmaster.
Isn't it based on the DC comics, which were before the Wishmaster?
maybe yes. You might be right. I just think of it as movie lore. So you're right. So
maybe I didn't really know.
But anyway, he's doing that. But I think he's taking kind of bits and pieces from people, and it becomes clear as to what kind of his end goal is, to just grant wishes for everyone, But that becomes clear right at the very end.
It's not just an artifact as well, which is nice. I thought it was another artifact from a god, which puts it in line with all the far what we've seen from Wonder Woman. So we had God of War in the first one, and now we've got God of Lies sort of in this one. So that was nice.
Yeah, what I would have liked to have seen maybe was, like the Wishmaster themselves actually be the person she fights at the end, maybe.
A transformation like last one where everyone got annoyed with the CGI.
The CGI mess, yeah. Now I was thinking more like her and Cheetah band together to fight against the Wishmaster.
Yeah, that would have been good too.
But obviously as a mortal man or something, I don't know, not sure. But yes, we'll come to the end in a sec. So he's now talking to the president, and he's getting stuff from the president, and he's getting like security details. He's making oil things, and
it's
each
perfect
time
for the 80s.
Yes, exactly.
Like it's the get everything, you can get more sort of attitude, which is what 80s is remembered for, even though it's more true now than ever.
Yes. He's got the hair for the 80s man. He's got the sleaziness of an 80s man. I think he did such a good job to kind of like get into the headset of what an 80s person that we see in movies now, and we think is what the 80s was like. He did such a good job to do that.
I didn't see it coming that it would have suited it all so well. It kind of looked just cheesy 80s at first, but it all melded together so well.
Yeah.
And the same with Christine Wiig, is that what her name is?
Yeah.
Like her part as well, I was thinking, this isn't realistic. I can't see a character doing that. But when you realise that she's lost, the thing she'd lost was her humanity, it kind of, actually that makes sense. She's actually acting well at this. And the progression of her character actually starts to be good.
Yeah. I think she gets to the point where, she's having conversations with her fellow employees, and she feels like an equal, and she's kind of like, she's loving the way her wish is turning out. Gal's obviously loving that Steve Rogers is back, but then they have that the fight.
The saddest thing about all of that is that she just needed confidence to talk to people. Yeah, that's all she needed. She didn't need a wish.
No, she could have just her and Diana could have been best friends, and then Diana could have given her the confidence, which is what Wonder Woman is all about in this. Exactly, because I think like Superman, like he is a beacon of hope, and he is our kind of like, in the movies he's the savior, like he's going around rescuing people look up to him, and all she needed was Wonder Woman to, if in the movies Wonder Woman was like Superman, where he's seen, because in Superman the movies, not Man of Steel, he's actually someone that people know exists. People don't know Wonder Woman exists. She just knows Diana Prince exists. So if she knew there was someone out there who, fought for equality, who was helping people, maybe that would give her the hope that she needed. And then obviously do the reveal that, Diana reveals to her, look, I am Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she could have been a techie.
Yes,
techie,
they could have built a team, and then
they were for a moment.
For a split second, so you got your IT genius, you've got Wonder Woman, Then you need someone who steals cars, obviously. So you'd have Dominic Toretto. Then you'd have the funny man, so bring in Tyrese Gibson, and then this would become Fast and Furious. Amazing!
Wow.
How we
Wonder
did
Furious.
it. Yes.
Fast and Fabulous. I don't know.
Fast and Fabulous. I love it. These are great names. We did it.
Yeah.
We brought the two franchises, smashed them together.
You're welcome, Universal, whoever it is.
DC, everyone, all of you guys. So he gets his oil. He's got a son. This is always like a thing. That this new thing about villains is we give them a backstory of some sort. We show their tragic background, so we empathize with the villain. And they show that towards the very end of this. But he's got a son who he kind of neglects in a way, but he loves at the same time.
Well, but
yeah. But he loves it,
and there's a bit where we first see the son, and he sort of, I'm doing this for you. Like, he doesn't necessarily say it exactly that way, but I certainly got the feeling that he had a heart. He was actually just a failing man, and he just wanted to get all this best stuff for his son, and that obviously the son just wants the father to be around. That's all. But he obviously loses sight of that as a character. Yeah,
I think because he's the wish master at this point. He just cares about granting wishes. He's not. He doesn't see anything further than that. So he's lost, kind of like his. Yeah. Maybe that's what he was giving up.
Yeah, it was. It seemed like it didn't exactly lose his son. I was wondering what he was going to lose, how he was going to lose it. But he certainly lost sight of what he was doing it all for.
Yes. And that becomes apparent towards the end where his son makes a wish as well. But so they have a fight, and then there's a bit where they get on an aeroplane. We missed that bit, but she makes it go invisible. That was pretty cool. Invisible jet. She just puts her hands together.
That was a bit thrown in, but obviously that's where it's like that's one of her classic moves from the comic books. Is she had an invisible plane, so they felt like they had to put that in for some reason. And like with the whip, obviously it pays off with the whip a lot because that's from the comic books as well. And that's a lot of fun.
The lasso. Yeah.
But is it necessary? Like, she doesn't really use it much. Like,
what, the lasso or the invisible whip?
The invisibility. Like, she could have turned herself invisible and done all sorts of different things.
I'm not sure.
She just kind of concentrates and does it. It just seems a little bit off.
I don't know if she can do herself, because you're right. She never in the movies in this universe has she ever made herself go invisible. So I'm not. I'm not sure. I think she said she did it to a mug.
Yeah.
So she can do it to inanimate objects, but maybe she can't do it to people. I don't know. But that's maybe we'll find out in the next movie.
When she's in the plane, she's invisible in the plane, right? So.
But the plane's invisible.
I guess you just have to put on a suit and make that invisible.
I guess if they make it so she hasn't explored that power yet, then come Batman v Superman, where they're fighting against Doomsday, it doesn't matter, and Justice League. But now, if they make the next movie and it's based in the future, and she can use the power, we're like, okay, so now she's learned how to build this power, which they showed us in number 2. But she hadn't perfected it yet. Otherwise, you would just say, in Justice League, why does she go invisible? Or why does she hold Batman, making go invisible with her?
I think there's a rule in cinema, in stories, in pretty much any story, actually, I think, which is you can't really just introduce heroes with a power when you need them. You can do that for villains, because then it's a surprise and it makes things harder. So you can't do it for heroes. So I think they should have had her doing the mug earlier on somehow, so that you were introduced to it.
Maybe as a child.
Yeah, maybe.
After she does the run, and somebody gives her a cup, like a participation trophy, and she makes it invisible.
Maybe she makes something invisible to like hide it, because she's still cheating, because she's a kid.
Because she's cheating.
Hide it together,
yeah. Maybe.
The reason she could run fast the whole time is because she had invisible super shoes on that she made invisible, so no one could see them.
So, because the problem with her, even Captain Marvel and Superman to an extent as well. All of them, they're very OP. They're overpowered. So
Yeah.
what can
Superman,
they come up
definitely.
against?
He is the OP.
Yeah. So what can they do to kind of like take the power away? So the wishing was one aspect where at this stage, once the big car chase had happened, we realized her powers aren't what they used to be. So you've taken that power away. So she's got to start doing something else. She's got to think of another way of kind of combating it all. And after fighting Kristen Wiig, who's got the same power set as she does, she realizes that she has to give up Steve Rogers if she wants to be Wonder Woman. And she has to make the ultimate sacrifice in her eyes.
That's right. And this is where the film gets messed up for me. I really love the movie, I have to say. It was fun throughout, but there is, near the end, it's a bit strange. Well, basically, she renounces her wish eventually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't like all these people that wish for stupid things and then end up with bad things happening. Why didn't they just renounce their wish? And fair enough, they didn't know. Maybe they didn't know that they could renounce it because it's not, they're not in the know of that stuff. But I feel like that kind of, like, if you can just renounce your wish, it kind of messes up the whole story. And I know the ultimate outcome is everyone ends up renouncing their wishes, and that's how it works. But the story that I could see being set up there wasn't that. It was the setup that she had to destroy Wishmaster guy in order for the wishes to come undone, and then they'd all come undone, and that'd be fine. But then we've got this side thing where people can just renounce their wish, and the thing that was weird is where she learns to fly. As soon as she renounces her wish, she gets powers back.
Yeah.
And she learns to fly because of something called back from earlier, right?
Yeah.
So you're with me on this. And she goes flying after the guy who's in the plane, and Christine Wiig as well is there. And she's flying off because she can now fly because she's Wonder Woman. She's learned to fly because of her boyfriend who she's just given up. And she's got her powers back. But then randomly she goes back and gets the suit. Like, it doesn't, like, she goes from there to there, and then for some reason she goes all the way back to the apartment just in a single shot to get the suit that she didn't need because she had all her powers back, right? And
I think she didn't realize she could fly just then. That's why she had the suit. The suit's got the wings.
She flew first, then she went back and got a suit that she didn't need.
I think she was lassoing at that point when she wasn't flying. She was using the lasso on the lightning clouds.
And then she learned to fly in that moment.
I think maybe it was gliding.
Again. Then she's flying, gliding. So she has learned to fly as far as I can tell, which is fine if you want to fly. It's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to a Wonder Woman versus Superman now because they're both at the right level. She can fly now.
They're the same character, basically. She can run fast as well.
But basically, going back for that armor stuff was completely pointless because, like, the armor is good if she'd lost her powers, because then it would have given her a chance to fight. And also, it has wings, which presumably has some sort of flying ability. So the idea being that she'd run out of her powers, she goes, gets the suit, then she's powered up again because she's got this super armor suit.
Yes.
She can fly to the place she needs to get to. She can fight. What's her name?
Cheetah. Let's call it Cheetah. Easier.
Call her Cheetah now. Yeah. So she can fight Cheetah, and then fight the big bad as well, finish him off, without any of that renouncing stuff being in play. So it's like they kind of mixed two things together. Like they mixed two stories together.
Yes, I think you're right. I think if they took her powers away, and the only way for her to get her powers back is by defeating Wishmaster, then she gets the suit on, and using the suit, she's able to fly to Cheetah, and then using, like, as a child, she remembers that, I have to improvise, have to do other things because I don't have these power sets.
Improvise, exactly.
And then beat the big bad of Cheetah. That would have, I think that's
and
a
that would
much
have made
better
more
ending.
sense, like you say, that you take away the powers and then she's got to do something else, like you say.
Yes.
Beat Cheetah. But then again, the way that it then plays out, though, with everyone undoing their wishes is nicer for the message of the story, though, which is what Wonder Woman is all about for me now, which is like going back to the old school roots of having values rather than just show, so that we have the values of people giving up what they've wished for and renouncing their wishes. So that is nice.
Yeah, I think then they had the big cheetah fight her, and that's kind of like the film could end there, and they didn't need Maxwell Lord. They could have just had a cheetah origin story and Wonder Woman story, and that's your one villain, and that would have been enough. Or she could come up against Maxwell Lord, the Wishmaster. That could have been your movie. I felt like for Kirsten Wiig's character, I felt like the character didn't have a lot of time as being cheetah, or being kind of, she's just CGI'd right at the very end into a little cat. It wasn't like she turned up earlier in the movie and she's a threat to Wonder Woman. It just felt like she got chucked in towards the end.
It's shallow, isn't it? The changes just happen so quickly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like surface level changes. We could have seen her more character, yeah.
For such a long movie as well.
But I did believe the changes when they eventually happened.
I would have liked to see more of her. That's what I'm saying, or more of Maxwell Lord. Pick a horse and go with that horse.
Together. Which is why I think Maxwell Lord, maybe, they just should have just destroyed him at the end, and then he could come back sometime. But who knows? But then we wouldn't have got that lovely reuniting scene with his child.
Yeah, but his child wished for his dad to
but
come back.
He didn't though. But he did wish, but he really had his wish, because you remember earlier he just wished for his dad to be great because that's what he wanted, and we saw the air flow through his face. Yes. So he already had his wish.
So you can't have a second wish. I missed that bit. That's what I was thinking. He's wishing for his dad. He's wishing that, and I thought,
that's why.
It's one of those things where if someone's on TV and they say make a wish and I'll grant it for you, there must be so many people on TV wishing for so many things. Like, granted, it takes something away from you, but you don't instantly know what that thing is. So you might say, "Oh, I wish for, I don't know, someone who's not well, battling with cancer, to be good, to be well again." And you get a phone call from the doctors. Yeah. Oh, they're doing amazingly well. They've come out of the coma. Why would you give that up straight away? Yeah. That's what I thought. Like, I thought she was a little bit selfish because she got Steve Rogers. To be fair, I would have wished for him to come back as well. But after I've had my way with him, and then I give him back, and I gave up my wish, she can't instantly expect the whole world that he's talking to give up their wishes straight away. It was a bit like, okay, it's convenient, it has to be done for plot purposes. But it's like someone must have wished for something that they saved someone or did something, and now you're telling them to give that up.
Yeah, I mean, the whole contact thing, because of the particles, that was obviously a plot device for ease to get that to happen. Because obviously he has to have contact with the person making the wish. Yes. And they just sort of, these satellites mean it's contact. I'm not sure that's exactly how things work. If satellites with sending particles can equal contact, then anything can equal contact, because everything is in contact with everything else in the universe. It wasn't really necessary. And also, if someone had just wished for something big enough, if there's that many people making those wishes at once, like all of that stuff building up to a end that was about to come, where all the nuclear weapons were fired and everything, that was fun, but someone would have made a wish way before that to just destroy the whole planet. It would have all been gone already. Someone was just like, I hate the Earth. I just wish it was gone. Just be gone.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a weird one.
The movie is fun though.
Yeah.
And I won't fault the movie for any of that stuff, because it was all fun, and it was a comic book movie, and a classic comic book movie.
Yes, it was. Yeah. In those true sense, it is exactly what you want. So then she defeats Cheetah very easily. Everyone says we don't want our wishes anymore, and it seems like everything goes back to normal. So I assume everyone who died comes back to life, because that guy wished for the pub owner or the cafe owner to die. He said drop dead. So I guess it got undone. So
although he didn't actually say it, but I think because Wishmaster guy, whatever his name is, I think because he renounced his wish, it meant that everyone else's wishes were automatically renounced anyway after that point. Because if he's not the wishmaster, then no one else would have got their wishes. So
Okay.
even if they don't know that they need to unwish it, at that point, it does undo. But then we've
And
got
so
the whole,
if you stood there, say, I wish I had a gun, and with that gun you
Yeah.
shot some people, because
Yeah.
he's now undone that, the bullets come out of those people and they come
undoes.
back to life, I imagine.
That's another thing. I mean, how it was going to undo was kind of messy as well, because if they were going to destroy the wish stone, we didn't see the wish stone reappear.
No.
So technically, if he unwished it, then I guess the wish stone now exists again. But if they destroyed the wish stone, then I was thinking, how is it going to work for the Mayans and all the other civilizations? Are they going to retroactively come back to life?
Ah, yes, because they all
Egyptians,
used
everything.
it as well. Yeah. See, in the movie, Wishmaster the movie,
Yeah.
at the very end, she uses her third wish to. She wishes that the person who was working that day wasn't drunk, because he was taking the artifact in the box and he was delivering that box, but he was drunk on the day and the artifact crashed open and the Wishmaster thing came to life.
Yeah.
So she unwished it. So I'm assuming that by him unwishing it, it just goes back to the state it was in before he took it away. So it just go back to so it wouldn't reset the whole thing. I think it just reset it to where he took it from.
Yeah, but in this case it didn't. It kind of got reversed, but people were still in place thinking, oh, everything's changed, it's going back now. Which I think is a better way to resolve it in some ways.
Because you can't go all the way back.
Exactly. You can't just undo it all, which I was expecting. I was expecting an undo button. But they just kind of left it with like, oh, I take back the wish and now we're just left in a bit of a mess, but everything is mostly going back to normal.
Yeah.
I guess that it's going to take some work to get everything back to normal again. I mean,
Exactly.
the Russians and the Americans are still, like, they might still press the button now because they've had that situation.
Yes, it still exists.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, it depends what you wish for. Because if you say, I wish to have the nuclear codes on my lap and the button so I could press the button, because I still want that sense of, I've done that. If that's what you wish for, you pressing the button isn't the wish. Your wish was to have that information readily available to you. And then you push
all the missiles disappeared anyway, so. I
know, yeah. It's just neatly ended, but it was still.
It does a good job. I like it.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of trash talk about this film,
and the reason why you like it is because it's Superman 2.
Yes, we have to talk about that, don't we? Like Superman 2, he goes up against people that have got his own powers, like Cheetah.
Yep.
He gives up his powers for love.
Oh, sure does, just like Diana Prince did. Yeah.
Yeah, and then gets them back, of course, at the end. So, yeah, there you go. It's Superman 2.
It's exactly
the same. Is there any
same.
other similarities? That's what I saw.
So in the start of Superman...
I've got no problem with that, by the way. No problem with it.
That's what I thought. I was watching the movie and I was like, oh my God, Monkey's going to love this. Because it feels a lot like Superman 2, where, those main plot points in the main story arc seem very similar. In Superman 2, he's always Superman. He's going out saving people. He's doing all that. And she does a similar thing at the start. She's helping, she's rescuing people. And then it follows a similar plot point where she gives up her powers. Superman does a similar thing. And then, in pops a person who they can't just defeat. They have to get their powers back. And then they have their powers back, have a big fight. They win. That's where Superman 2 would finish. But there's another half an hour at the end of Wonder Woman where we have to...
Well, unless you look at it in the way where she didn't get her powers back anyway, then it's fine.
Yeah.
Man gets his powers back and then he has to fight them still, so...
He does, and she fights Cheetah, but then after Cheetah's finished, that's where the film would end, but he's still got to go Wonder Woman's still got to go get Maxwell Lord and lasso him up and undo all the wishes.
Yeah, and also there's another similarity, is that they meet the president in both those movies as well.
Yes, yes. You're right.
Which is cool.
So to be fair, like Gal does a good job. Chris Pine is really good. Him and her have a really good kind of chemistry, and they bounce off each other really well.
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig was good as Cheetah, and Pedro Pascal, who plays Maxwell Lord, he's got this thing about him. He just looked like, he just fit into that era so well. He was just like, he's the kind of person who we've gone back in time. We've taken a person from what we think the 80s is, put him in this movie, and he is perfect Wall Street, Gordon Gekko kind of person, or Lex Luthor back in in the old Superman.
He's good. He plays it so well. Like you could easily go over the top. He does the good balance somehow. I don't know. You could go so badly wrong, especially knowing the DC how their record is so far. It could have gone so easily wrong.
Yes, I felt like the very end movie, the very end scene, not the mid credit post. The mid-credit scene, the bit where it's all snowy and it's Christmassy, I felt like that just got added on to the end of the movie, because originally the movie would have come out in the summer of this year. So I don't. At some point, maybe they filmed that bit with Gal, her husband, and her kids to make it feel like Christmas.
Maybe they just filmed each other on their phones, and they just.
And they go, and then Patty, she sent it to Patty Jenkins, and she's like, "Oh look, I'll shoehorn this into the movie."
Maybe. I think it's a good ending because obviously she's lonely, and he's told her to move on. Told her there's plenty of more fish in the sea once I'm gone, and then I don't think she's necessarily getting with that guy, but she's at least open now to maybe meeting someone, and I think that was a nice end scene, just that she could smile at someone, feel happy with someone else, and have the potential to meet someone if that's part of what her dream is. Then you disagree?
No, I hear what you're saying. I just it's just, it is what it is. It's fine.
Also, the thing I also like about the movie, another thing about the wishes is it's that whole you're allowed to make 3 wishes, and then you say I wish for more wishes.
No, I don't think you can make 3 wishes. He just gave you one wish.
This is one wish. Yeah, it's just like, but like when you got a genie in a lamp and you have to make 3 wishes, and someone just says I wish for infinite wishes, and that's basically what this movie does. Is like you only get 1 wish, but he gets around it by saying I wish to be the wish master.
Oh no, sorry, he was the taxi driver. You know the taxi driver in the movie. And he runs out the car. That was her husband, not the guy at the end. The children were hers though. But you're right about the wishes. But he makes the wish to have all the wishes, to grant the wishes.
Yeah, exactly. But he only gets 1 wish, and his wish is to be the wish granter, so that he can then get the other side of each wish, which is very smart. Because you can't wish for infinite wishes. That's
but cheating. In doing self, his health was deteriorating. So that was the thing that he was giving up. But then he was getting things from other people. When as they wished, he would then get the satellites, and then he'd take their organs, or take this, or take that, or whatever. So he still had a big price to pay for becoming the Wishmaster.
Oh, definitely. It wasn't a good plan. It didn't work out. But I just thought it was quite good that in that way. It's like, well, how's he going to use it? He only gets 1 wish. What's he going to wish for?
Yeah.
Oh, he's wished for this thing that gives him kind of infinite wishes, just by telling other people to wish for it and then stealing stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to do it. If you want to be the infinite wish person, it's a good kind of loophole where you can still get something out of it.
And it's a flawed loophole, which makes it good, obviously.
Yes, definitely. So
anything else in the themes of the movies, or should we give it a rating yet?
Yeah, let's give it a rating. There is some controversy, and there's things that people were talking about, but I don't know. I don't know if we.
Or should we do it after?
The only see if it sways you in any way. No, let's just give our response. So, based on our classic rating system, where do you put this?
For me, it's a 4-star.
So you would say go in the cinema for those who can, and those have access to, go to the cinema and watch it. That's My Guy Monkey's recommendation on Wonder Woman 1984.
Safety regulations apply.
Safety regulations.
Go to the cinema, but safety. Yeah, small print. What about yourself?
A streaming service. I don't think it was. I think it's one of those watch at home
That's
kind
up
of.
to you.
Yeah. It's not even pay money on VOD and buy Blu-ray. Just watch it on your
thought you
HBO
loved
Max.
You just told me how all the actors are so great. There's great action with the whip.
I know. I told you all the
It's
good
a
bits, but
classic
overall,
superhero movie. Okay, now we've done that. You now have to tell me all the bad points that make this movie that bad.
so the things
And the
I didn't like.
controversies that other people have put
Controversy.
up.
I didn't like Wishmaster. I felt that.
You didn't like Wishmaster?
I didn't like. I know. No, I didn't like the Wishmaster movie, so I didn't like this. I felt like. I think it's because I felt like when I was watching it, I kept thinking of something else, and I think maybe that was the wrong way of thinking it. So when I watched Kirsten Wiig's character, I'm thinking Jamie Foxx from Amazing Spider-Man, so I'm not liking the film. Then he becomes the Wishmaster, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. She loses the powers. That was quite interesting. I like that bit. But then, all she has to do is, and I'm not a big fan of Superman 2 like you are. I think it's okay. I know you love it. But so I was watching Superman 2, and I was like, I like
the
it.
director's cut, original cut.
Yes, I know. We talked about that in the earlier podcasts. And then, so I didn't like the way they Kirsten Wiig's the typical supervillain, where she's this nerdy. They make her out to be. She wears glasses. She drops paper on the floor, and I was just like, we've seen this. Just make her a normal person.
That's one thing I don't like.
Not normal, but just a person.
I thought you've reminded me, well done, of something I can go against the film, and that's the superpower of Wonder Woman that also Kirsten Wiig inherits. Their superpower is being attractive to men, and they're just wolf whistling and they're just calling them up all the time. Like, that is, what kind of a power is that, and where did that come from? That was icky. That was weird. And that whole idea of, I've made a wish, now I can just pull my trousers off and just sort of wear my top as a dress, and now I'm sexy.
Take my glasses off. Yes. Yeah.
I'm amazing now. Like, it had some very weird sort of shallow messages in those parts, which is a shame because there's some good messages in the movie.
And none of them were
Carry on.
So those kind of things that kind of like I didn't like that there was two villains because neither of them got more because Cheetah for me I think could have been a standout villain.
Yeah.
And they could have introduced her in a better way.
I accept that.
None of this wish stuff. She could have just been Cheetah, given her a different origin, however it happened. But just come up against her would have been enough.
Yeah,
strong supervillain.
I agree. The last whole scene, the battle could have been towards one big fight. Yeah, and if they just had to just kill Thingy really easily, that might have worked. It would have just been Cheetah focused. That would have been good.
Yeah, maybe if they had Maxwell Lord forget his end goal, but those two just make the wish early on, and then Gal Gadot realizes that her powers are depleting somehow, and she undoes it maybe at the halfway point of the movie. As in they destroy the stone, so she thinks she's undone everything, but Chris Pine's still around, and that's when we introduce Cheetah at the halfway point in the movie.
Exactly,
and I don't know how, and then it's just one villain. We get the wish stuff done early if they want to introduce this Wishmaster, get him done early in the movie, and he's finished, and then just concentrate on these two better, more fleshed out characters.
Yeah, I mean, if they couldn't renounce their wishes, and they just had to kill what's his name, and then all the wishes that he granted had gone. I guess they would have destroyed the actual stone itself, so all of the wishes would have been undone. But I was thinking if it was just the wishes he granted, then Cheetah could still survive as the hero.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
If they could have had,
but then Wonder Woman wouldn't have the powers.
Exactly. Yeah, but she I think what they could have done, they could have destroyed the thing, but still not realize why or where cheetahs come from,
Yeah.
and not realize till later on, that it's because, and then she, she gives up her wish, gives up Chris Pine, and then you have the big thing, and she's trying to force her to give up her wish, and then it just comes down to like these two people, not the whole world. This messy kind of like, how do you undo this and undo that, and it's he's taken the Wishmaster, the stone. You've stopped him really early into the movie, and that he, not him, but she's created herself to become the supervillain in that time, and that's it. And then let's just concentrate on that character.
Yeah.
I felt like she could give more.
Yeah, there was not enough time for that, for the two villains, especially by the end. They were crammed in. I agree. But I think I hear what you're saying. Basically, it wasn't a Marvel introduction movie, and that's your problem. You wanted one introduction at a time, building to a bigger universe.
So in Captain America: Civil War, right, you get Crossbones right at the very start of the movie, and they deal with Crossbones, and he's finished. Then you get the Baron, who kind of unleashes the Winter Soldier, and then Black Panther's introduced, and all the other characters, and they're trying to stop Winter Soldier. And then you've got the fraction of the two teams, and in the end, it's just a fight between Winter Soldier, Cap, and Iron Man. Yeah. That's it. That's all it has to be. Not up against another supervillain or anything, because Black Panther just walks up to him, taps him on the shoulder, and they've got the villain. And they could have done like that, where Wishmaster, Kirsten Wiig somehow touches the stone, and she touches the stone. They make the wish early on, and she stops Wishmaster. Then in 20 minutes, half an hour, or an hour into the movie, and we didn't even realize that her and Kirsten Wiig had made those wishes. And so, and therefore you can just concentrate on the one villain and actually really flesh them out, because now she's defeated Cheetah, and that's another villain gone. Because God of War could have been a really good villain if they'd kind of had the time to flesh him out, and he could have had his own movie. And the similar with this, they could have had a Cheetah movie where they could just had her. End. Yeah, that's what it felt like. Other than that White House sequence, which was really good, where the two of them fight, the CGI mess in the dark. Because when they run out of money on CGI, I feel they was pitch dark. And they try and make it so, look how cool this looks. Just turn the lights on. We just want to see it in broad daylight. We want to see what they look like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an advocate for seeing less in some places, but but in that case, you just need to see more or see better. I don't know. It was a lackluster final battle.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
So that's my problem with it more than, and obviously she got her wish. And she was able to keep Steve Rogers around for quite a while she just expects the world to give up whatever they wanted. You don't know what someone's wished for. So all of that was just those tropes.
I say the overall film was marvelous. It's just the last 10 minutes was
terrible.
It did what it had to do to finish the movie.
Yeah, it had to just tie it up.
Finish it in the way that it had to end for a nice ending. And that, I guess that's the best we could have hoped for, because how's she going to get at the end there? It was quite a long movie as well, so how much more would they had to add?
They could have cut a lot of this out. We could have made it into tight 2 hours, cut it all out, yeah. So the only controversy that I found, which I thought, it's not really controversy, but it is, because some people just like to moan, is obviously Steve Rogers, she wishes for Steve Rogers to come back. There's nothing there. And he obviously embodies just a man, but not himself. Yeah. So it's him in another man's body.
Yeah.
And so multiple critics have been like criticizing putting him into someone else's body. It's like a dangerous situation, because you're using that person's body without consent.
Yep, not really, because you are that person now.
Well, you're not, are you?
It's not about consent. Come on, that's just ridiculous.
I know, this is what I'm clutching at straw.
It's a crisscross movie. You
it is. Exactly. It's body swap.
What you've got now, you do the best you can with it. I thought that it would have been at least like, they should have showed the actual man character. They should have had him as the actor throughout, because that's what he actually looked like. I would have accepted that at least. But then you've got Wonder Woman's line, which is where she says, "I just see you,
Yeah.
I see you as you." So that's why we get to see him that way throughout.
So as an
Because,
actor,
as an actor.
Chris Pine was doing a great job. He was just like being himself, being fun, helping Wonder Woman. Even in the White House scene, like he's doing bits that they make a really good team. Like this is where maybe if Cheetah was a Wonder Woman sidekick, like you said, but not overpowered, however they're powered, and against one villain, the two of them could be bouncing off each other really well.
Yeah. And he was always in danger when she's around. When he's following her around, he's always an extra danger for her. She's always having to keep an eye out for him, having to save him, which is nice because if he was still around, which he isn't now, he's gone. Unless they bring him back a third time, bring him back every movie somehow.
Just whip him back.
When we talk about unlimited power and like OP heroes, it's when they've got someone they need to keep alive as well that they're pressed. Sometimes, if you just take your eye off the ball for one moment, your love of your life could be shot, could be killed. So I think that's a good thing that they can use in OP superhero movies to keep them grounded.
Yeah.
And keep their powers limited. Like the same with when she saves the kids on the a few times, but on the car chase, she just sort of stops everything to take some kids that are randomly, unbelievably playing out in the middle of this road. They've got a whole wilderness they could play in. But she swings out and saves them. Like that's like she's got that other thing in her mind. She wants to save people, and that will sometimes hinder her, as it does Superman. I think sometimes in the 80s movies at least.
Yeah. So that was my rating on.
Okay.
It wasn't that good. So just quickly. So for me, Wonder Woman 1 is better than Wonder Woman 2. Where would you put the two of them? Which one's better?
Put this one above Wonder Woman because, I mean, it was a good intro Wonder Woman. A bit slower paced, I guess. The main action was the scene where people were where it was kind of shitty CGI, but she got a lot more action that was good in this one, and it was just fun comic book movie all round. All the different characters. Even though you can tie them to other things and say, oh, maybe they're stereotypical, maybe they're boring, I don't know. But they're all just fun, superhero movie type stuff going on. And like you say, I love Superman, the 80s movies, and it brings me back to that time. Just like the first one did in some places, it brought me back to that. But it was only really near the end that it really brought that home in the first one. But in this one, it's throughout that sort of superhero movie.
Yeah.
So
we've got just a couple minutes, so I thought let's quickly do this. I'm going to run through the people who were nerdy, wore glasses, dropped stuff on the floor, and became supervillains. And you got to rate them as good, being Wonder Woman 2, because you said Wonder Woman 2 is better than Wonder Woman 1. So they're either Wonder Woman 1, terrible, or Wonder Woman 2, really good. That's your scale, okay?
Yeah, that is the scale.
So the first one was Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman in Batman Returns.
I can't even remember. I guess I'll just give it a Wonder Woman 1 because of those movies in general.
It wasn't memorable. Jamie Foxx as Electro in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh man, Dubstep Man though.
Yes, Dubstep Man.
Every time he walks, he just makes dubstep noises, which is brilliant. I'm going to give him a Wonder Woman 2.
And then Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
The Riddler, again, it's just that set of movies. They're great in some ways, but not in others. I'm just going to give him Wonder Woman
1. And then Poison Ivy.
Same set.
Same set. And then in Iron Man 3, Guy Pearce's character.
Who?
Guy Pearce's character. In Iron Man 3, there's a guy who Tony leaves outside on the rooftop over New Year's. Yeah. And he's wearing like glasses, and they make him look all nerdy again. And he had a running Wonder Woman 1. And then they put on this list. They put Harley Quinn on this list, but I don't really see how that would be the case.
Start off Well, she started off as a nerdy. Wasn't she like an intern in a psychiatric hospital or something?
She's the actual doctor, yes.
Yeah, so she does start off nerdy.
Yeah.
But in what movie does that appear, really?
In Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad, yeah. I'll give her a pass. Go ahead. Even though Suicide Squad is terrible.
And Dr. Octavius in Spider-Man 2.
Oh, Dr. Octavius is classic.
He is, and he's the only good one.
He's the only real good one. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's so many that the first thing I thought when I saw her was
Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
They did put that one on the list.
No, they didn't.
He was hated by everyone.
So the first thing
2016.
first thing I thought was when I saw her do all of that, I thought Jamie Foxx in Amazing Spider-Man. But then when I saw the list, I was like, oh yeah, Uma Thurman as well. She was, and even Catwoman and Jim Carrey, they all played pretty much the same origin. It's just this person who goes to puts on glasses, and something happens to them, and they're just not being looked.
I mean, it makes no sense. I mean, from comic book terms, like surely those are made for nerds in some way. I don't know. They shouldn't be putting this type on people. No. But certainly from Hollywood, that you can understand that they love just making the nerdy guy the failure. I mean, it's very American as well, isn't it? It's like the American high school with all the different cliques, and there's always the nerdy group and the jock group, and the reality is just not like that. It's more varied, more nuanced. You don't become a villain just because you're a nerd. I mean, it's basically it sells itself to the stupidity of the masses almost. Like, yeah, you should be afraid of smart people. They're terrible. Which in some ways is true, but not in the sense that they're trying to say. I mean, it's only true in the sense of how much technology we create and then how we're not responsible for it. It's more about the stupid people not being responsible for it, though, I think, than the smart people that make the smart technology.
Yeah. But it's
no offense to anyone that thinks I'm talking about them.
It's a terrible trope in movies. I just don't like it. So, other than that, absolute classic, right?
I love it.
Streaming service. Streaming service.
I didn't like it. I don't know why. Streaming service 2, that's terrible. I mean, come on, you at least VOD that. Did you not?
No.
Are you disappointed you VOD'd it then? Do you feel
cheated? I think so, yeah. I feel like...
do you feel cheated of your money, or did you enjoy it?
Because, no, I felt like... I think if I'd watched it in the cinema, it may have been different, but Wonder Woman 1 was a simpler
there we go.
Story,
I think that's
which wasn't like cram-packed with lots of random bits that they're trying to do here and there, and just weirdness. And the ending, as bad as it was, at least it ended after that time. It felt like, she's had a CGI fight with Cheetah, and now she's got to go on TV, renounce your wishes and stuff, and then it ends. It was just, I don't know.
I think you just missed the cinema. For a big action movie like this, you need a big screen.
Yes,
and you didn't get your big screen, so I think you need to make it a 4-star in order to see it the way it should be. You need to go to the cinema.
No, it's not going to happen now. It's not a film that I watched and I'll go, you know what, despite all of its flaws and problems, I'll still go watch it in the cinema.
Yeah, it's a question of would you watch it again? And I would like to watch it again, but I'd have to wait a little while first, and I'd like to watch it with Wonder Woman 1 and then Wonder Woman 2 again, just for that experience, put them together, because I like to do that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, how much you would want to see it again is a more difficult question. I still rate it highly.
Yeah, I can tell. So that's what we thought of Wonder Woman 1984. How can they contact us?
I don't know. Are we on the internet yet?
Hopefully this is on the internet. Yes.
Oh, okay. So but myguy reviews at Instagram, Twitter, at Gmail, all the stuff that's in the description below. So because sometimes there's an underscore in between, so it's best just to look at the description. But yeah, please do like, subscribe, review. Even if it's a bad review, just give us a review. It all counts.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most
and get in contact so we know we've got one listener still.
Yes, always good. Brilliant. Yeah, so thanks for listening. As you said, subscribe, tell a friend. The more friends and people you tell, the wider the listenership gets, which is amazing. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
And goodbye.
Bye.
No, it's me that's talking about it.
Brilliant.
You.
My Guy Reviews, the podcast